Growing up in a small conservative town was no easy feat for a queen like me, but the rejection I faced in my youth was turned into motivation. A lot of different people and experiences have made me the person I am today, and I hope this show can be a platform for other LGBTQ family members to tell their stories while indulging in some drag queen fun. That's why I've created What's Happening with Hope Hillcum. So thanks for joining me again for another What's Happening with Hope Hillcum. I'm your host, Hope Hillcum, but you don't have to hope for long. And today I have two extra special guests from PFLAG joining me today. To my left, I have Deborah Rickard, and to my far left, I have Jonathan Phillips over here. So I'd like to start off with a very general question. Can you all just tell me where you're from and what got you involved with PFLAG?
Okay, I am actually have lived in Kentucky most of my life, so I'm from here in Lexington, and I got involved because they were having I had heard that they were going to have a clergy panel, and I'm always really interested in religion and how it affects LGBT people.
Right.
I identify as a lesbian, and so I wanted to see what they have to say about it, and I went to the first meeting for that, and just decided to stay. I liked it.
Great.
I am originally from North Carolina, but I've been here in Lexington for about 16 years now. And a little over a year and a half ago, my youngest child came out to us as a transgender man. And a social worker here at UK where I work referred us to PFLAG.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it very helpful in terms of understanding and coming to grips with what was going on with our son and how to handle it or how to parent it, since we use that as a verb now. And I've been involved ever since.
Great. And outside of your involvement at PFLAG, can you tell me a little bit more about what y'all do outside of it?
That seems like nothing. I'm a retired public health nurse. I worked here at the health department for 27 years. And so now I do this. I do some volunteering for the Humane Society, and I still do a little bit of contract nursing and doing health assessments for people.
Wonderful.
I'm on the faculty here at UK. I'm a geoscientist. I study dirt and water. And
Wonderful.
In terms of other extracurricular activities, I'm involved with some environmental and social justice organizations. I've always been involved with those sorts of things.
Great. Yeah, that's always wonderful to be a part of, being part of these wonderful organizations out here in Lexington. They have such great connectability with people to join these wonderful things, in my opinion. I mean, you might have different experiences, but I'm glad to see that y'all are out there doing some wonderful things. So I've heard a lot of wonderful things about PFLAG, and but for the people out there that don't necessarily know what PFLAG is, can you give them a description of what you guys are?
Well, we originated in 1972, the national level PFLAG did, and it was called PFLAG, which stood for Parents, Friends and Family of Lesbians and Gays. Started by one mother who wanted to support her son in a New York Pride Parade. So she did that, and lots of other parents all wanted help too, kids wanted to help, so it kind of spread from there. So our group has been in Lexington for about 5-6 years or so. We've had some ups and downs, but right now we're really having a big push to try and get out there and be seen and be known and be more public. And so we're really a support group. Our goals are to educate, advocate, be an advocate, and teach. So we try to have a support group meeting and go anywhere somebody wants to know about how to love the person in their life that maybe has come out to them.
Great.
And PFLAG we keep the PFLAG name because it's well recognized in the LGBTQ community and is a brand, if you will, that's proven itself over time. But we always emphasize that we're more than just a parents, friends, and families group. That we cast a much broader net these days than when the group was first started.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the national level just last year did tell us that we're not really supposed to consider it an acronym anymore. It's just a word. And then because it's not inclusive, and they didn't want to change it. So really, we always say that it involves everyone.
Yeah, because when I was looking up your guys' information, because I wanted to get, of course, some background information, be a good reporter, and when I was looking at the name, I kind of figured parents, family, lesbian and gay, but then I was like, where is this? I feel like if it's an acronym, I would find it. So that was the big push to change that, and it's just the name of it now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I understand why I couldn't find that name.
The analogy I always use is Texas A&M University. The A&M used to stand for agricultural and mechanical. And of course, the university expanded its scope well beyond that. And so now the A&M is just A&M.
It's just a brand. Yeah, it's just the brand. I love that. So you, Deborah, are I can't even read what I wrote. Membership chair. Now, can you please tell me a little bit what you do in that position?
Okay, so basically I'm just in charge of keeping the members roster. I will send applications out every year when it's time for people to renew their memberships. I will be the one who's the most vocal about trying to have people become members of our organization, just those kinds of things. And I also send in our members' names to our national organization so that they can get them on the email rolls to receive national publications.
Great. And Jonathan, what do you do on the board of directors?
Well, the board, and I've only been on the board for a few months, but the board meets pretty much monthly to laugh and joke. We'll set policy, and since I've been on, the focus has been on getting the word out to people about what we do, and because in our situation, just having people to talk to who understood, not only the facts of the situation, but understood what it was like to be a parent of, or to be, somebody in the LGBTQ community was just so incredibly helpful for us.
Right.
And I just want to make sure, or we just want to make sure that other people that might need that same thing, whether it's just once for one meeting or over a course of years, know that we're here.
Right. No, that's fantastic. It's nice to have that organization that really builds community amongst people that need the help, and helps build a little bit more education on such awesome issues of LGBTQ.
I know it sounds maybe a little bit corny, but PFLAG was there for us when we really, really needed it, and sometimes we still do really need it. But I just want to make sure that we're there, that PFLAG is there when other, and I'm speaking from the traditional parents' perspective, but when other people need that kind of support and understanding and so forth.
That's great. And it seems like PFLAG has really been a moving part of your life and what you're doing right now. So what has been the most rewarding experience that you've had while working with PFLAG?
I'd say I was trying to think about that, and I thought, well, I don't know a specific thing, but what I do find rewarding is being in a meeting and hearing a parent say something about something they've been struggling with, or something that maybe they said something or did something and wonder, was that right or wrong? And so for me, just being able to say to them, yes, what you did was exactly right, don't worry about anything, that's great. And to see a relief on their faces and know that, well, they're so thankful that somebody understood and that maybe, well, they did do something right. So I just find those things great.
That's great.
I have a similar kind of perspective, but a little bit more from the other end. Maybe for example, we've from the very beginning when we came out, we've been loving and accepting of our son, but don't pretend like we understood it, especially at the beginning, and maybe not now. And at one point we were having thoughts of essentially mourning, the daughter that we no longer had, and we're feeling guilty about that. But at PFLAG, for example, it turns out that's common. It's basically inevitable for parents in that position. So it just made us feel much less guilty about it, and better able to cope with the different kind of feelings, things we were confronting.
Yeah, I feel like it really gives you a perspective that it's not only you. Like this is something that's totally natural and it happens, and this is what we can do to work towards it. That's super awesome. So the name recently changed from PFLAG Lexington to PFLAG Central Kentucky. Would you be able to talk to us a little bit about why the name changed and how the name changed?
We have had several groups of people who come from places like, say, Berea or London or Winchester over the past couple of years. And they're always interested in our group. They wish they had one closer to themselves and that kind of thing. But it's very hard to start and maintain. So we thought that, well, PFLAG Lexington really sounds like it's just for Lexington. And there are some PFLAG groups westward across Kentucky, but there's really nothing for eastern Kentucky and stuff. So we just decided that if we called ourselves Central Kentucky, then it would seem maybe a little more inclusive to people from other places. And we even talked about if some places wanted to have, groups or meetings and things, we could then just kind of take it on the road and go see them in their, their towns and that kind of thing. But we felt that Central Kentucky was just more inclusive.
Yeah.
And we do have a sub-chapter, if you call it that, in Frankfurt.
In Frankfurt. Frankfurt has since started up a chapter that's really kind of part of our group, that they're kind of under our wing, but it's PFLAG Frankfurt.
But it's still PFLAG Frankfurt. Okay, great. So what are some of the services that PFLAG offers the LGBTQ community? I know you talked a little bit about talking with parents. Can you maybe give us either a little bit more into that, or talk to us about some of the other things that y'all do?
Well, we do. We like to staff any kind of booth or table anywhere. So we try to go out at all kinds of just different conferences, workshops, anything where people are gathering, and have a table with literature, brochures, try and tell people about us, try and talk about supporting the community, that kind of thing. We work with some of the other groups, the LGBT community and things like so that, when they're having something, we'll try and publicize it, talk it up, help work it if they need it, that kind of thing. But so a lot of advocacy, support groups. We have our support group, and we're kind of talking about trying to come up with a speakers bureau, just anything that we can.
Yeah.
And connecting people with resources, for example, because people in the community, their parents and friends, they have all kinds of issues beyond sort of basic support and understanding. Sometimes there are, medical issues, or wanting to connect people with counseling or with churches or religious groups that are accepting and affirming, and so any of those situations and more, we try to work to connect people with individuals and institutions that can help.
Right. Yeah, because knowing services that are really accepting of LGBTQ community members, and being able to be from the LGBTQ community and support those who support you is really important, I think. So that's really good to have that kind of hub and knowing who to go to.
When I first was going to become part of the group, I did not think that really people who were lesbian, gay, transgender stuff were the group that they were wanting to have. I thought more for parents, friends, and things. And I was afraid that if I came, people who might want to say some awful things because they're working through their anger and stuff might not be open if I was there or someone like me was there. And I have since found out that absolutely not. Now the main reason I go is so that I can, they want to know about what your, how things were for you and that kind of thing. So, so our group really is based, we do have parents, we do have lots of people who are either lesbian, gay, transgender, and we do have some allies and that kind of, so it has become a broad group.
And it's also very helpful to hear things from different perspectives. For example, when we first started, what can we do as parents? And everybody, other parents and supporters and allies and so forth said, number one thing, be loving and accepting. And then later on at future meetings, we heard from transgender people themselves, and asking about issues with their parents, and they said the same thing. That's the number one thing you can do. The most important thing.
So it's nice that you're saying that, like, positive first step, that first impression, and then you get further into it. Oh, that's wonderful. So how do people that are watching this right now, how do they get involved with PFLAG?
Well, we do have PFLAG Central Kentucky. We do have a website. Okay. Just www.pflagcentralky.org. We have an email. They can go info at pflagcentralky.org. Those places they'll get some feedback or contact with us. Or anybody that wants to, we have a support group meeting every second Tuesday of every month. They can come to that.
Great. And what times do those take place?
The meetings are at 6:30 to 8:30. So 6:30 to 7:30, we always have some kind of a presentation. And then from 7:30 to 8:30, we really kind of have the support group part of it. And it's at St. Michael's Episcopal Church on Belafonte Drive. And like I say, every second Tuesday.
All right, wonderful. And then what are some of the types of volunteers / members that that PFLAG is really trying to target?
Well, we're trying to get, let's say our average age is a little bit higher than maybe some groups. So some of us aren't very good with computer things. So we were always trying to find volunteers who might have good computer skills as far as social networking, that kind of thing. Anybody that has any marketing skills, anybody that has fundraising skills.
We're developing, we're trying to develop more, we are developing more of a social media presence. But a few of us on the board, myself included, kind of live off the social grids. So, and not everybody is in that situation, but we can always use help with that sort of thing.
Other than that, we do have, like one of our largest fundraisers is we do beer pouring at one of the Saturday Night Lives or something like that. So then I'm sorry, Thursday.
She's talking about the TV show.
Yeah, that's the second one. Thursday Night Live. People who just want to come and beer pour. Anything. There are lots of just little things that people can do one time, or they can sign on to do.
That's wonderful. And how do people? Same way to contact? Just info at your website. That info
at PFLAG Central Kentucky.
Perfect, and they can just contact you there.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And then, do you have any fun events that you have planned for the future, or coming up, that you'd like to plug?
Well, we will be having a booth at the Pride Festival. We do that usually every year, and so. We do that, which of course we set up all of our literature and we stand and just talk to people, invite ones to talk, or they can sign up to be on our mailing list, because we do mail out a newsletter every month. And then, of course, we'll be trying to sell a few things to make some money, but that's one of the places we'll be.
And the Pride Festival, I guess, I don't know how many of your viewers are aware of it, but it's just fun, period.
Oh yeah, we actually we've by this time we've already aired the Pride Festival episode, and we were just talking about how awesome it is. So it's really great to have you say how awesome it was, because last year it was just great, especially to have that monumental moment of having the marriage equality pass, especially for last year. This is going to be the 9th year that it's going to be happening out in the public. I met with Chad Hundley, and he was telling me about how there was like a pride, but it was more like a pride picnic before.
It was, out on a farm.
And so it's wonderful to hear you say that y'all will be there, and it's so nice to see all of these different Lexington LGBTQ organizations, and even outside of the LGBTQ, like they come and we have the vendors and to come and do that.
Pride Festival was long before I had a direct tie to the LGBT community, other than friends and so forth.
Yeah.
Before I was involved like I am now, and I would been down to the farmers market and was walking back home, and just happened upon this thing at the courthouse square. And I remember getting on the phone and calling my wife and son, who was a daughter then, but and say, "Get down here, this is cool."
That's awesome. And how long ago was that, did you say?
That's been probably 5 or 6 years.
Oh wow, yeah, no, and it's just, and it keeps growing, keeps growing. I mean, they just changed the location over in front of the courthouse over there, and each year it just gets bigger and bigger. So, you go ahead. No.
We do, last year was our first time, but we marched in the 4th of July parade.
Oh, great.
So that was really fun, because there were lots of other groups, and we were kind of all together and stuff. And so, that was fun. And I was a little bit wondering about that, since that's, a really, a cross-section of the population who would be there watching and that kind of thing, how they would, accept us or whatever, and it was wonderful.
Great.
So we'll be doing that again this year.
Good.
And this is more informal rather than, an official part of PFLAG, but a lot of us who are involved with the group, we just enjoy each other's company. We do things socially, outside of meetings and support groups and so forth.
That's great. So it's kind of like a friend, family, organization, once you're part of the organization, you really just have this connection with everybody and really help one another, which is great. So, can you tell me about any? I know you talked about the website.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any Facebook or Instagram?
Yes, we do have a Facebook page, so it's the same thing. You could just put Central Kentucky, PFLAG Central Kentucky.
PFLAG
Our
Central
Facebook page
Kentucky.
would come up. And then we get into the part where I say we need help. Because we do have, I think, a Twitter account, but I don't know anything about that. I don't know about that. And I don't know about Instagram either. So those are all things that we're hoping to get help with.
A meetup too, right?
Well, it's just begun. We've just begun a meetup group.
Okay.
So we haven't done anything yet, but we're getting that up and running. So
Great. We look forward to hearing a little bit more about that, and as soon as I get that, we'll make sure we put it out there for people to see. So my next question is, why do you think that LGBTQ organizations like PFLAG are so important to not only the people that it directly affects, but the community as a whole?
Well, I was thinking that, we talk about what we do in the community, in the LGBTQ community, and I say lots of times we feel like we're kind of, anytime we're doing something there, we might be kind of, preaching to the choir, and we really want to try to reach out to people who are not, a part of that group. So I think that the biggest thing, the number one statistic for people having a happy and productive life who have come out and hopefully being non-suicidal is that their family loves and supports them. So that's mainly, I think, that what we do, we can kind of be out in the community, we can show people that whatever their probably preconceived ideas of a lesbian or gay or transgender person might not be true, that, we're just normal everyday people, we work and live like they do, and that maybe they'll begin thinking that, yes, I do see these groups, and these are good people, and they are doing good things, so maybe change their minds a little.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything to add to that?
One of our standard messages that is along the lines of, somebody love is a member of this community. It's lesbian, gay, transgender, and what have you. And I think in terms of the discrimination and misunderstanding that people face, it's all part of people viewing LGBTQ folks as other. Something other, and the more people realize that there is no other really, there's just us.
Right.
Then I think the less those kind of discrimination issues are going to be a problem.
Right. I really admire the perspective that you bring to the table to breaking down barriers. That's the first time that I've gotten an answer because I've done a couple of interviews, and that's a really good perspective on why having organizations like PFLAG are important to not only LGBTQ but the surrounding community as a whole. So, can you tell us a little bit about your support meetings and your organization hosts? So, where the you already told me where the meetings are held. So, who's invited, and what can you tell us about some of the topics that are talked about?
Well, of course, everybody's invited.
Perfect.
We try to get our meetings out as much as we can, to anyone who wants to come, and we hope to get referrals and that kind of thing. But we do have topics, and I just have a few of the topics we've had. Like we have had topics. Someone who came and spoke one time about bisexuality. It said it was an often confusing and controversial issue. We've had, I don't know, some people might know Derek Penwell, who is a minister and teacher and various other things from Louisville. He's a member of Kentucky Faith Leaders for Fairness. He came and spoke one time. We have had a college trans young woman and her mother came, and so they kind of were able to tell us from the mother's standpoint too how things, how did everything go when the person came out and that kind of thing. So we try and have something for everyone. Transparent Lexington is a new group in town, and they came to one of our meetings recently. Pretty much like that. We did also have the two gentlemen, and I was trying to find their names. Luke, I just know Luke and somebody. The two
Luke and Gus.
Yes, Luke and Gus. That's right. They were the two gentlemen who were involved in the Supreme Court case for the marriage thing.
Okay.
They live in Elizabethtown. They've been together for 40 years, and they came one night and talked, and they were very fun. So just things we do clergy panels. My favorite. So we try to have a few of those so that we can get people coming from affirming churches, because there are a lot of them. Not just Lexington, but around the area, and so they will come and just either tell us about their church or answer questions and the kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's fun.
People from student groups at UK,
Spectrums, I think
Yeah,
that's
most
called.
recently, and Lance Boston from the new office here at UK, and
Our next one, this coming in May, is we're going to have some high school students who are part of a GSA group, Gay Straight Alliance group.
Yeah.
So they're going to come and tell us kind of how they get together and what goes on with them in high school at a high school level. So
after these programs discussions, we have a little break, and then the support group starts, and the whole thing is completely confidential. I mean, what happens at PFLAG, what's said at PFLAG stays with PFLAG. So,
Right.
I think it's important that people understand that
Right.
they're not going to have their business in the street, so to speak, as a result of coming to a PFLAG meeting.
and we always say that once you're there, your amount of participation is strictly up to you. You can come and just sit and not ever have to say a word, just observe, listen, whatever. Or if you have something you need to say or talk about, then that's fine.
Yeah, it sounds like you set up a very safe environment for people to come and be able to either express themselves or just listen,
Yes.
and be a part of that environment. So, we just talked about some of the topics, but what were some of your guys' favorite topics? I know that you said you really like the theology aspects.
I love the theology because, to me, it's extremely important that people know, because you hear so many people once you come out. Churches have been so non-supportive, and sometimes they're not even willing to try to find one that is and try and regroup and that kind of thing. So for me, I hate to think that anyone thinks that, and this would be a Christian thought, but that God doesn't love them.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, yes, He loves everyone. You are just as perfect in His eyes as everybody else. So I'm really interested in trying to be sure that, especially young kids, that they have that message if it's something they're missing.
Yeah,
That's
great. I think in some cases, unfortunately, the churches and some organized religions have been big enemies of the community, but they're also some of our biggest friends and supporters and allies. And we had that woman who told us about views of gender and sexuality in different cultures and religions. And it ranges in general from, we had a psychiatrist once, MD who specializes in treating LGBTQ people, and this was an academic person who, made it understandable for the rest of us, all the way down to just, like Debbie was saying, kids from the GSA or from the UK student groups.
That's great. So a wide breadth of people you invite. So not just, people you see on TV, like celebrities, like people that have done monumental things, but people that are doing great things just surrounding the local community. So what are some of the ways that allies can be supportive to LGBTQ friends and family?
So some of the biggest ways are to be able to be there to listen. So like if your sister-in-law is talking to you, be maybe an ally, and they can say things maybe to you since you're a friend or a relative that they can't say other places. So listening to what the LGBT family is going through, I think being supportive or offering support. When lots of we have people who sometimes say, the parents who say my child has come out, they don't know how to handle that like at their church. Okay, so maybe an ally could help there, could try to just be supportive and maybe help smooth the way for them at a church thing, or just helping them to educate or direct, or any kind of just support.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Just like the love and support of parents is important for the LGBTQ children, and love and support of broader network of friends and family is important for the parents. And it's it meant so much to us when our families broader families were supportive and understanding of my son's transition, and kind of unexpectedly in some cases. We didn't necessarily predict that they would be understanding and supportive. And when I say understanding, I mean understanding in terms of more acceptance than, getting it, because it's
Right.
hard, it's hard to get.
Right, when it's not happening to you, personally, it's kind of hard for you to get, but just the idea of what you're saying, accepting, that could sometimes just be the biggest thing.
We have, just as kind of an example, one of the couples in our group, when their child came out to them, he did not come out to any of the rest of the family. And so you have the mom and dad who can't really discuss it with any of the other family or anything. Mm-hmm. So for them to have, a support, a friend, and, they have us, but, to have their own friends or something that maybe they could talk to about it without having to involve the family. Or I always think that, that was, just being able to, have some place where they can talk about it when they can't say anything to the family.
Right.
And of course, any support would be appreciated when it comes to things like the fairness laws and those sorts of things.
One other thing I was trying to think of was that when we have to it's hard sometimes for people to understand that like for me, for instance, obviously, I think I knew I was a lesbian from the time I was in college. Did not tell my mom until probably I was in my 30s or 40s. So I'm thinking we find that the children or whoever's coming out have probably dealt with it for many, many, many years. When you tell your parents, that's a shock, and they haven't had any time to process it or deal with it or think about it or anything. So it's really hard. We try to tell kids who are coming out to please give your parents a break. Remember that you've known about this for a long time. You're shocking them with something. So to try and give them a chance to work it out.
To process it. Yeah.
Use the proper pronouns. It's a little getting used to.
Yeah, I'm sure. So conversely, how do LGBTQ identifiers explain the importance of LGBTQ support to their allies? So how do we, myself, as an LGBTQ person, what are some of the ways, I guess, that you talked about in supporting our allies? Because I feel like we always talk about how allies need to appropriately support LGBTQ. But how would you say LGBTQ needs to help support our allies?
Well, I think we need to be sure that we make them know how thankful we are for what they do, how much their support means, to give them the ideas, like I thought, since you mentioned that about, laws and things like that, where we need their voices, to help them to just feel included in everything, that we need you, you do have a big part in our operations or in what movements we're trying to make, that kind of thing. So basically just being really thankful to them and being sure they know that we know that this is hard and that they're strong and brave to be out there for us.
Right.
I would agree with what Debbie said, and also just let us know what we can be doing better or what we should be doing that we're not doing. My son, we want to support him in every way we can, but we found that some ways we've tried to support him are not very helpful or not really what he needs, and so if the community in general can do that, and I realize to some extent that varies very much by individuals, but what works and what doesn't work, what's really needed and what's kind of superfluous.
Right, and I really appreciate what you said before in the last question about sometimes LGBTQ need to understand that, sometimes people need time. They need time to process. I know when I first was coming out to my mom, and she was just like, that's just not what I've grown up with. It's kind of like a little bit of a shock. She's like, I still love you. You know what I mean? She was very supportive, but she was like, I just need time. She's like, I love you and everything. I just need to process it. And she's like, it's not like you can't talk to me anymore. It's just, I need time. So I think it's like, that's an important thing to express, because I feel like sometimes we get caught in this mindset of, oh, I'm LGBTQ, and if you're not like if you asking for time is like too much for me. No, like them asking for time is I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It's the way of showing that they love you, but they just need a few seconds to process what you just said.
Yes, that's basically what we try to tell people is, that be sure the first thing that comes out of your mouth hopefully is, okay, I still love you.
Right.
and then you don't need time to think about it, but always just in knowing that they love you, but this is a shock to them. And I sometimes say that although people can be very angry when they say things about it, but I said it almost would help too if we understand that if someone is telling you they don't think that you should be who you are, and they are worried about it from a standpoint of saying, that's not how religion says, they're worried about your soul, and I think, especially sometimes we don't want to hear it, and maybe they can do it in a better supportive way. I think it's nice. We have to understand that they're coming from a place of love. Right. They think we're doomed. So, I'm thinking, well, if I thought someone was dying, something awful was happening to them, I think I'd want to help them too. So, I think first we need to also think that they were just coming from a place of love. They don't want us to be lost, but hopefully maybe we can work around them and have them open up and see something different.
Mm-hmm. Life presents a lot of challenges for everybody, and as a parent, you certainly perceive that things are going to be more difficult if they're gay or lesbian or transgender, and so your first thought is, or at least in a lot of cases, is, oh, this is going to be hard for them, and there's at least a split second of denial because you don't want things to be hard for your kids,
right?
Because there's going to be enough challenges out there, but as Debbie said, if you get through that split second of denial and, with an initial expression of love and support, that seems to be the key thing.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming to talk with me. Again, this was Deborah and Jonathan, and it was just fantastic to hear your perspectives on all of these things and what PFLAG is doing for our community. And I just thank you so much for your hard work, and I'm sure everybody out there thanks you for your hard work too.
Well, thank you for doing this. It's such a wonderful thing to be able to get our platform for us to get out there.
Yeah.
We were happy to be here.
I'm glad
we're continuing our media tour later this week.
Yay! So we have some more videos coming up. So you'll find them on their own TV show. It's going to be like Regis and Kelly, except Jonathan and Deborah.
That's right.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you guys.